that I did the first class that I did where I talked about Ukraine and Russia. Well, somebody in the Chinese, it went viral in China, right? It like really took off.
You're on the next
Here.
BTS.
The next. Anyway, we were going to talk about it after class, but it took off because what Chinese viewers were saying, and like when something takes off in China, we had a video take off in China several years ago that had like 17 million views, and you could see the views going up by the 100,000, like every 10 or 15 minutes, because there's so many people in China, man. It was like every 10 minutes, like another 100,000. It made it to the top of kind of Chinese Weibo, which is like Twitter, and but this one, what happened was people in China were saying, "Hey, here's this American knucklehead talking about Ukraine and Russia." And, talking about his own country and the things that our country has done, and looking at the lens of this invasion by the Russians in Ukraine from the perspective of past actions of the United States. And so for them, it was, just like an opportunity, like a breath of fresh air. I'm not the only one, but of someone who's really talking about this from what they thought was a thoughtful and truthful way, or people think, just being willing to examine things from multiple sides. And I think, in a way, that's what I'm trying to do in this class all the time, which is see things from a variety of perspectives. And no one perspective is inherently right, but it's worth being able to see and value, even if you don't value, just see and understand perspectives that are really not in our wheelhouse. And, it is something that's a lot easier to do as you get older, because as you get older, if you're thinking, you have so many opportunities in life to see the places where you've been wrong about lots of things. And so you acquire a certain kind of wisdom that's built upon having been wrong more often than right. I'm definitely wrong more often than I'm right. And I think that's what I try to do in the class. And in that particular video, it's interesting because you never really know when a video is going to take off. But in that particular video, what really hit home for people was that I was willing to look at Russia and what Russia was doing, and what Russia was doing wrong, in my opinion, but also look at it from the perspective of things that what my own country has done wrong, and hold those two side by side and look at them. And it feels like it's fair, and it feels like it, for me, that it's important if I want to have a deep and intellectual type understanding of something, then it's fair to be able to do that. Okay, speaking of fairness, I'm calling this Un Día de Tapas, and I've been waiting forever to use that title, but my wife came up with it, so I can't claim it. Meaning we're just going to jump around to some different things, and I want to open it up to you all. But the first thing I want to do, I just want to return to a few things from the past semester. And one is, do you remember the class that we did on, I think it was called courting, we called it courting affirmative action. And it was when I walked through the choosing a Supreme Court justice and how that would be, and Biden's decision that he was going to nominate a black woman as the next Supreme Court justice. And so, saying like, okay, let's break that down and let's see what it really means, and is that a good thing, a bad thing? And, of course, some people praise him for making this choice that they think is a really important choice, and it's about time. We need another woman on the Supreme Court, and we need a black woman on the Supreme Court, et cetera. And other people critiqued him because they said, look, if you just up front decide, hey, you're going to nominate a black woman, then how can you be certain you're going to get the best possible person for the job? Because you're already eliminating a huge swath of the population. So how are you going to get the best person? And so if you remember the class, I walked us through how what I thought was a valuable conversation about, well, there is no best person. There is no smartest person. Just like in this class, there is no, the person who scores the highest points at the end of this semester, who accumulates the greatest number of points, is not the smartest person in this class. The smartest person may well be someone who ends up with a D or a C. But, just for whatever reason, they just didn't feel like accumulating all the points and doing all the busy work. And so who knows? How do you measure that sort of thing? But we can be certain that there are probably, remember I brought it down to like 98 people in the US who would be like the cream of the crop, who would be really awesome for this job and super smart. And in that cream of the crop, it's about as best you're going to get. You're going to find some black women. There's going to be 1, 2, or 3 of them, if that number is very, very small, just based on the population size. So in any case, I was listening to this. This is the woman, if you're following, this Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is been put forward by Biden, and I was reading about her, and I was saying, okay, so who is this person, right? Like, who is she? Is she talented? Is she smart? Is she this? Is she that? And I have to say that it's just exactly what I anticipated in this class those several weeks ago. She's effing brilliant. She was going to be, I read about her, what her high school was like. I mean, she was amazing in high school, a debater, and all sorts of stuff. Just like, oh my God. She goes to Harvard. There's no affirmative action involved in her going to Harvard. She was absolutely, meaning that, well, we need a couple black women, so let's just pick her. No. She was brilliant in high school, a vivacious, smart, intense personality. She goes to Harvard. She kills it, crushes it there. She goes to Harvard Law School, and she crushes it there, and then she just cruises through the system and all sorts of different jobs. Now, you may not like some of the decisions that she made as a justice, but what I want to say is my analysis on that day, that surely there are a handful, if we narrow this population down of people who are superbly qualified to be on the Supreme Court, there are some black women in that small population, and she's one of them. You can't crush it more than she has crushed it, man. And so, okay, you may not like her. She may rule in ways that you don't appreciate, but whatever. It's and they're gonna try to undermine her, and that's fine. It's a political appointment. So, you kind of, the court is a political appointment, and it's a political position. You try to rule on the law, but whatever it is, right? So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. So pay attention to it. It's pretty cool. I know it's not pretty cool. It just is. It's an isness thing. Okay. By the way, no. All right. Let's see. Is Basim there? You know what? I'm going to do this thing where I'm just going to keep my mask on one more day because I don't want to get in trouble. So I'm so used to I don't play by rules, man. But I've learned over the years just know when to play by rules and when not to. All right, man. Are we there? All right. Basim. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Hey, class, those of you who were here last class, you remember Basim? Dude, you speak Arabic, right? Can you say hello to him? Yeah, Basim, what's your name, bro?
Khaled.
Khaled's going to say hi to you.
السلام عليكم باسم شو أخبارك؟
وعليكم السلام على خالد. الحمد لله. أنت كيفك؟
الحمد لله تمام.
الحمد
Say
لله.
welcome back, man. How do you
Thank
say
you.
welcome back?
نسيت. شرفتنا مرة ثانية باسم.
شرف إلي أخي.
حبيبي والله.
Thanks, man. Shukran. All right, so listen, man. Basim. So here's what's up. When you were in class last week, there were some people on the stream that were feeling some kind of way about the questions that we were asking you. And you can put the first one up. I'm going to read one to you. Something, just a statement. So one person wrote, "These questions are killing me." The questions the students were asking you. As a victim, he must have gotten these questions so much by now. So come on, come up with better ones. Everyone knows after getting bombed, no one will be happy, right? So I guess I want to ask you, first off, how did you feel? Wait, hang on, and then we're going to go to the second one. Let's go to the second one. And the second one was finally, so someone asked some kind of question, I don't know what it was, but finally someone else is seeing right through this narcissistic, cruel line of questioning, man. Y'all have been gaslighted into thinking it's acceptable from your professor. I think they're misusing gaslighted here. This is one of these words. Do you know what gaslighting is? It's one of these things that people are misusing in a tremendous amount. Very much misusing it, man. But nonetheless, okay. So, how did you feel about the conversation the other day?
Well, answering the first question, it's true. I have told my story so many times to different audiences. I've told it in your class at least 3-4 times. I've talked to TV stations, I've talked to radio stations, and every audience has to hear my story, but they will react to it differently. It's never easy to tell the story. The pain never goes away, but it is my duty to deliver to you what it is, what it feels like to be an innocent victim of a bombing. Mm-hmm. So I know it's difficult, but I have to do it. You know, I don't want to make you sad, but after our class Thursday, I went in and I took us photo, and I was in tears. Mm. But I have to tell the story to make you understand what happens to victims of wars.
And what's the reason for that? Why do you want us to understand? Yeah.
Well, so we will never forget what happens to victims. You are too far, but I have seen so many sufferings in Mosul, especially. I've lived in my lifespan. In 1991, I was a soldier when Iraq invaded Kuwait, but I did not see the destruction and the death because I was up north in Erbil at that time, and there wasn't much fighting up here. Neither was in Mosul. In 2003, there was a lot of bombing in Baghdad and south, and Mosul also did get its share of bombing, but not as much as the rest of Iraq. The devastation I saw after I went back to Mosul after liberation from ISIS, that killed me. I remember the first time I went to Mosul, for the first time, I get lost in my own city because the bombing has destroyed the whole city. The landscapes that I used to navigate through were gone. So I was lost and I was crying. I said, how can I get lost in my own city that I was born in 57 years ago?
So it seems to, I was looking at some photos of different cities in Ukraine, and I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking I wouldn't even know where these these places are. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you feel like you need the two people who wrote, I think in the chat, I think they felt like you needed to be protected in some way.
You know, Sam, after being through what I've been through, and after all these 4 or 5 years, I told you it's never easy. But the Americans are very emotional. But I've been through war. I've seen destruction. I lost 4 members of my family. Like I told you, I'm working with some U.S. firm to represent people from Mosul. And I've seen families who lost 10, 12, 15, 30. Yesterday, I was just filling forms for this person who lost 13 members of his family. And I was in tears for him, not just for me, because I know what it feels. But you know, sometimes we have a saying, when you see the suffering of others, your suffering seems small to their suffering. Losing 4 is not like losing 13.
It's hard. I can't even imagine. And I can't imagine the stories that are going to be coming out of
God, oh my
Ukraine.
God.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, my friend, I just wanted to bring you back in just for a few minutes, just to say, I think, we live in this world where we don't have role models necessarily for how to, in a very healthy way, how to live through and work through trauma. And so we automatically, I think often, many of us automatically make these assumptions that when somebody has been traumatized, like there's only one path through it. But sometimes we meet people who are really special people who have found a way to work through the things that they've experienced. And I think you're one of those people. And so understanding how to work through trauma and how to experience and express forgiveness. You, my friend, have mastered that. So,
thank you, Sam. You know, with your help, I mean, the first time I came back after the bombing, it was really, really difficult. But with your help and your encouragement, you made me come in terms of what happened to me and to share with other people what had happened to me and to pray for others to be safe and not to go through what I went through.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, yesterday I was looking for an article in the Dutch newspaper, and I Googled your name, and I had to go through so many long lists of articles. There's so many people have heard your message, and in particular this message of understanding and forgiveness, and you're just being unwilling to hate. Even after what happened to you, so.
You know, Sam, because of, I don't want to say because of me, or I have there's a city in Mosul, not in Mosul, it's called Hawija. And Hawija had its share of bombing, and in one bombing, 70 people lost their lives because of the Dutch bombing. And after my case was reviewed in the Netherlands, my lawyer, she took their case and now she's representing them. And I am so happy that something might come out of this trial for these people.
That's awesome.
So happy.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right, my friend, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Have a good day. Thank you so
All right.
much. Bye-bye.
Just so you know, Basim is one of our, he's one of the moderators on the chat, so he'll go back to the chat. Hey, can we, now we're going to just, I want to show you a couple different things, and then we are, first, just a couple different things to start a conversation. A lot of times in this class, what I do is I pick a theme out, and then the theme is the entire, hey, by the way, you know, I just want to say something. You, by hearing this man, Basim, you're really touching on something that's holy. You're touching on holiness, the sacred. I mean, here is a person whose entire life was destroyed. and lost so many things. His wife, his daughter, his brother, his nephew, his house, everything. Dude, every picture. When he went back to the house, he could only salvage certain, maybe photos and so on. That's it. A few photos. That's it. He lost everything. And he's not bitter. Like he is testimony to the power of forgiveness. It's amazing. We talk about that. But he's testing you met somebody who went somewhere that very few human beings will ever go. To me, that's like that's the whole semester. You need nothing. You need to remember nothing from this class but that right there. And if he can do it, then like, what's it say for the rest of us? All right. So now we're gonna. Anyway, do you get that right? It's cool. It's cool. My God, it's beautiful. Hey. Bro, do you have the rest of the sheets? Who? Yeah, go ahead, bring them down. Yeah. Okay, can you put this graph up here? I couldn't make this any larger, so I just want to see. I want somebody to just respond to this. We don't have any. I don't have any volunteers picked out ahead of time. But look, I found this graph, and somebody put together this, it's based on the 2019 census, right? You can just start one here and one there, and then do the others. So, this is, what you have in the purple is the U.S. population, okay? The population that's white, the population that's Hispanic, population that's black, that's Asian, and that's Native American. And these are, so they looked at commercials from during the Super Bowl, this most recent Super Bowl, and they looked at the people, and when they were large crowd, like who's represented in the commercials, and when they were, hang on, bro, did you do each of the 3 sections? They're all good. All 6 sections have a sheet? Okay. So when you look at these in scenes with large crowds, they only chose the dominant actors, the ones that were really prominent. Okay? So now, this is what we have. So this is the white population. Here's the percentage of people in the Super Bowl ads who were white. So there were fewer than we would expect given the population. Many fewer Hispanics, and way more black people represented in the Super Bowl than our black people in the population. So, does anyone have a thought on that? Who has a thought on it? Who wants to just weigh in on? What do you think that is? Like, what do you think the purpose is? Or what do you think? What's that all about? I don't know. Does anyone have a commentary? Anything you want to say? Dude, hang on. I know you do. Who else? Who's got something? Anybody that you just want to say? Like, I could tell you what I think, but I don't want to tell you what I think. Actually, I don't think anything. Who wants to say something? What do you make of that? I don't even know what the question is. I don't even have a question. Just what comes up for you? Yeah, thanks, man. Or like, what questions do you have? Or yeah, go.
Is this on? Oh, okay. So I guess maybe like my first question is like, is it the goal of the Super Bowl commercials to be like representing people who they think are watching it? Like, is that, so is like, maybe my thought is like, they're putting certain people in it because they think those people are probably watching it. Like, that's what I'm sort of guessing.
That's what you're thinking.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that comes up. Like, maybe they're trying to represent people who are actually watching the game.
Or who they think are
Who they
they're
think
watching
are.
the game.
Okay, that's cool. Somebody else. Like, what else? Hey, can you take the mic? Can you pass the mic behind you, by the way? Yes, ma'am.
I was always surprised when I would see statistics like this because the majority of people that play in the NFL and like a lot of the more like football and the NBA and stuff like that, there's a lot more like diverse, like as in race in that aspect. But then the people that perform, you see like stuff like this where it's like we're not really like represented in that place, but it's a lot of us that play.
So okay, so this you could say really in some ways represents the players for sure, right? Because this is saying, hey, like it's like 40% or so of all the people acting in the commercials are black, and at least that many players are black, but probably more.
Right, but it's just still, but not just with black. Like I know I'm black, but not just with black people. Like look at the Asian and Native Americans and Hispanics. Like they're not like not in the NFL. They
And they're
do
not,
play.
and they're not being
And
represented.
they're not being represented exactly.
Yeah. So if this was World Cup, if this was like soccer or football, it would be a little different.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you. So it's interesting because it really more represents the game. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo off of that just a little bit. I'm going to try to give a little bit of some business perspective in there. This is what I think, so it's not factual.
Yeah, just what comes up, right? Because
Yeah.
once again, you understand, like, I see things like this, and one of the reasons that I like teaching this class, because I like bringing things like this to say, like, what do you all think? Like, what's going on here? Because I don't know. You know what I mean?
I mean, we all know that for the Super Bowl commercials, companies will pay, millions of dollars just to get like a time slot. But the NFL actually has really strict guidelines on what they will choose to air and what they will choose not to during their runtime. And a lot of that has to do with, let's say a company is like, oh, we're trying to change the face of this. They need to have some sort of representation of what like the NFL is. And I'm not sure if you guys know, but 70% of the NFL is African American. However, when it comes to people who are leading these sponsorship deals and you see their names on articles and videos, magazines, etc., that is predominantly white, so that would be the model that they would follow. And then when it comes down to it, like you guys are completely right with like the other factors that happen with like Hispanic people being more into like soccer or football, non-American. So that would just be my take on it. Contracts definitely have a lot to do with the numbers that you're seeing.
Somebody else has something. Wait, hey, can you pass the mic over there? I'm gonna come up here.
Like everyone said, like lack of representation. What came to my mind is like with award shows, they had huge backlash with the lack of representation with African Americans. So maybe to prevent that backlash as well.
So you think so you think that maybe there's like everyone is trying to do some kind of showing like
Yes.
hey, we represent.
To keep
So-
it PC and like everyone happy. So like
Yeah,
to
yeah.
prevent the negativity of like
Yeah.
award shows. I think the Emmys and Oscars had the lack of representation.
Yeah.
So something like that to maybe even cover themselves, but also
Yeah.
make everyone happy who's watching the football.
Right. Okay. So
Super
think
Bowl.
about this, right? If black people represent, say, like 12% of the population, which is, like what? Like 1 in 8, more or less, right? But if you have all these different commercials, and each commercial has like 3 or 4 actors, let's say, but each commercial feels like, oh my God, we have to have a black actor. Well, now you're really disproportionately, representing black people, because it's like, well, everyone has to show that. Like, you can't do a commercial and have only white actors in this world, right? Especially if you only get one shot. And so, yeah, but we can overlook Asians and Hispanics in this case. Yeah. Did you get a microphone, bro? Yo, man. Okay, go ahead, bro.
I think what's happening here is over the past couple of years, there's been, more pushes for diversity and representation. And I think in the U.S., what's getting the most attention for the past couple of years has been, issues that black people face. There's a movement called Black Lives Matter, not really Hispanic Lives Matter, Asian Lives Matter. And so when, companies that want to advertise are putting stuff together, they want to catch the least flack. So they're like, all right, who's looking for representation? They see black people, so they put more black people in the advertisements, and then they're like, okay, we have representation, give me your money now.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a little bit cynical, but maybe. Yeah, I'm not an advertising person, but yeah, maybe. Do you feel like you're being pandered to as a black guy? Given what he's saying, which is probably very much part of it, do you feel like in a way like you're being pandered to?
To be completely honest, I feel like we see it a lot during Black History Month.
Yeah.
And we see it a lot during like other times which like black culture is pretty prominent. You see a lot of companies going into like, oh, we support black, and then like come April Black History Month is February, right? Come March, like nothing matters. So I think like to key in on, I think we are being pandered to, but to answer the question you originally asked, I think representation is largely based off of what a company thinks is going to be most profitable financially. So we see a lot of representation of whites because they're most likely to spend their money on commercials that they see, such as cars, other things. And we see a lot of representation of black on certain issues and subjects because blacks are more likely to spend their money on like new movies or new shows statistically. So that's where the representation in my idea comes from.
So you think that, so in a way, it works, right? I mean, obviously, because representation matters, because you're trying to get people to buy this stuff that they don't need. If they needed it, they would have already bought it, so they don't really need it. So you're trying to get them to buy it. So you want to also target the people who you want to target.
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point. I agree. I think it's pretty much like targeting. To a fault, though, because it limits like the outlying customer who maybe who you wouldn't think would be in your market actually be in your market.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I hear that. I wonder sometimes about you said, okay, you have Black History Month, right? That's when everybody really does it in. But I don't know. I see so much representation of black and brown people. Everybody in their, their company. If you're going to show the employees of your company, you're going to make sure you reach in and find a black person, a brown person, a woman, someone who's disabled, whatever. But that's the easy part. It's what comes after that that's much more the difficult part. It's like, well, what are we actually doing? This is the complex stuff. Anybody else before we move on to the next thing? Anyone else have anything to add?
Hi. I have something. Okay. So I'm not exactly I have a couple of theories behind this, but I feel like in order to kind of get a better understanding of the grass, I feel like it would be helpful to get like a Super Bowl or like a World Cup commercial representation as well to see if this is more for the audience or if it's stereotypical or like something like that.
Well, you definitely see more during the World Cup. You definitely see more people of different of Latino in particular, Hispanic and Asian ancestry for sure. But this is off the charts, man. I mean, this is way off the charts. But yeah, you're right. Okay, yes, ma'am.
My biggest thing is it representing like all like genders and stuff. Like that was the big thing for me. I know it's representing like some races and stuff, but I'm like curious about like the gender part of this. I can't really read the bottom of that, but that was what I was really.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't say anything.
No,
yeah,
I think that's a big thing too.
My guess is it's mostly men.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, there's women that watch football as well, or like watch like the halftime show or whatever. But like I feel, or like any gender really. So that was a big thing I was tuning on to.
Yeah, no, that would be interesting. I see a lot of stuff like this, and for me personally, there's a part of me that can feel like it's cool on one hand, but it can be disingenuous on the other. But I don't know. I don't know, really. Shit. Okay, hey, listen. Let me just blacken the screen for a second, and then we're going to go to the next thing. So I want to invite you into another conversation here. So there's a conversation at Penn State and at universities all across the United States that we do not have enough instructors or people in positions of power, or whatever the case is, who are black and brown. Okay? So in the liberal arts and in the social sciences, there's increasing gender equity and parity. So when I started here at Penn State, I think we had one woman in the entire department, one professor, and now, you know, that number has moved to close to half, right? But there's another conversation about race. And you know what's going on with me right now? I'm like, it's like I'm really stuck behind. I feel like I got to get the mask off, but I'm not. I'm just going to wear it one more day. But I feel like I just want to release my energy, man. God. Nah, it's all right. No. No, I'm not going to, man. I'm not going to. It's all good. I just want to let you know. That's why I feel like I'm stumbling. You know, I'm like, what the hell? What am I even doing here? Why am I alive? Like, what the hell? All right, so listen, man. So there's a big conversation in the U.S. And here at Penn State regarding not enough professors who are black and brown. Okay? And, you know, we're talking about this constantly. We need more black and brown professors. There's like an endless critique of the administration and of people in power for not hiring more black and brown professors. And we should be hiring more black and brown professors. And why aren't we? And it's racism. And if I had I don't know, like $10 for every time in my 30 years here that I've heard that Penn State is a racist institution because we don't hire enough people, I'd be rich and I could retire right now. But that's not the case. So I want to show you some data, and then I want to just see what you think about this. And so go ahead and put that up, okay? So you presumably, most professors would be people who have PhD degrees. And I'm just looking at, in here it's just black PhDs and Hispanic PhDs that were awarded in 2019. These are all fields. This isn't just liberal arts or social sciences or whatever. So if we look at black PhDs awarded, 4.5%, the 2,512, represents 4.5% of all PhDs that were awarded in the United States that year. Of the 55,000, were people who identified as black. 12% of the U.S. population is black. And Hispanic, 5.1%, and 19% of the U.S. population in 2019 is black. Okay? So now return to the question of Penn State should be hiring more professors who are black and Hispanic. Interpret that statement from the lens of these data. What do you see? Somebody. Who wants to jump in? What do you see? What's this tell you? Wait, hang on. Somebody. What's this tell you?
That the pool of people applying to be professors at the school might be smaller than the group of white people with PhDs applying.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. So the group applying is going to be a lot smaller than the percentage of people in the population. Uh-huh. Somebody else. Hey. Like, you know, like for example, this is the accusation, you know, the idea here that, you know, that Penn State, they're, you know, is a racist institution because we don't hire more Black, Hispanic, and Native American professors and so on. That's a really serious charge, right? That's a really serious, like you all are attending an institution that is inherently racist and does not want to hire people who are Black and Hispanic and Native American. Yeah.
I don't really think the school itself is racist. I think it's the racist ideologies, like of the people here, and more so, I don't think like the girl up there said. I think it's more so the people aren't applying, not because it's a racist institution. I think people aren't applying to be in the middle of Pennsylvania. Like, it's a boring ass place. Excuse my French, but like, it's the middle of Pennsylvania. How many Black people do you really see in State College? Like, let's be very honest. It's cold up here. Like, people have other opportunities to go elsewhere. I don't really think people aren't coming here because Penn State is racist. I think it's just there's better opportunities to go. Like, I would rather be in Miami right now, like at Florida, in hot weather than be in a mountain, like a mountainous area with cold. And like, I see very little representation. And like, you also have to think like schools, your children are going to be in schools with people that don't look like them. Like, I would rather put my kids in schools with like, you know, more diverse, in a more diverse area.
Okay. In fairness, though, you have a killer jacket for the cold, right? So you look like you're plenty warm. Okay, but so here's the thing, right? Okay, so hang on. I want to come back to this question then, right? Because this can work. But first off, the idea, though, the argument is, there is the argument out there that it's a racist place. If it wasn't racist, we'd hire more Black and Hispanic people, right? And so this is the problem. And so if we hired more Black and Hispanic, we should, because clearly the assumption is we can, and the assumption is that there are people who are out there, right? And we just don't hire them here. So what do you say about that assumption, given these numbers?
Like I said, maybe they're just like, people just aren't applying. And then like, to go back to it, like, because I think.
No, hang on, let me go back. Why aren't they applying? Because they don't exist?
No, they exist. It's
well,
just
hang
like
on, though. But
they're
look,
getting.
But if only 4% of the PhDs awarded are Black people, let's just say, stick with Black people, right? And if you look around and you say like, hey, what percentage of Penn State professors are Black? And then we say, yeah, it's somewhere around like 4%, let's say, right? I don't know what it is, but my guess is if we include the Commonwealth campus and so on, my guess is it's about 4%. And if we say, so what people say is it's only 4%. And look, the number of Black people in the U.S. it's over 12%. So you need to show as an institution that you're not racist. You need to hire more Black professors, because only by doing so can you show us that you're not racist, right?
I don't think, like, if you hire, just because I hire a Black person, that doesn't mean I'm not racist.
No, I got that. Okay, I got that. Okay, no, I got that. Okay, but so, and I'm in agreement with that, obviously. But this is the argument. Where are the Black professors? And there should be more Black professors. And so the question with those numbers is like, so where are the Black professors or the Hispanic professors?
I think there are Black professors. There needs to be more. I think it's just the classes that you're taking. They're not making up like those majority classes, because I think, like I said, they would rather be like elsewhere. The Black professors aren't applying because they would rather be elsewhere. But like I know like I had Black professors here, but I took AFAM classes. Like, I took specific classes, and it's just like the Black professors would rather be in AFAM classes, or it's just maybe because like maybe Penn State doesn't have a lot of Black professors because they're just not marketing, like they're not putting job opportunities out there, like, or people are just like not, they just don't want to apply.
But also they're not there. if only 4.5% of
Yeah,
the PhDs
that's not a
awarded-
lot of that's not a big number compared to like
Dude, it's a huge,
Other
it's a
people.
hugely small number, but it's one that we forget. And this is the point here, right? It's like, look, if we put an application out, and on average, like 100 people apply, and only 4 of them are black, let's say, right? And we'd want 12 of them to be black, because that would be a representation of the population, right? You want, look, in an ideal world, you want your groups to be largely represented of, you want a certain representation, right? Like, it would be lovely to have to represent what the United States is. Like, it's a cool opportunity. That's what makes this country really fascinating, is we have people from so many different parts of the world. So it's like, okay, let's represent those parts of the world. That makes it the United States, right? That makes it what it is. But here, it's like, well, but we're only going to get 4 of the 100. And then we got to make sure, now we're only hiring 1 person. So what are the chances that one of the 4 is going to be the top, right? This isn't like hiring the Supreme Court justice where we like, then it becomes a problem. So I want to go back to your other statement about why people don't come here. Wait, hang on one second. I'll come back. Rex, man.
So, can I ask you a
I'll come
question?
back to you. Yeah,
Can I
go
ask you a
ahead.
question? So, in that case, so you already present so much data about diversity and different people from different race. So, is diversity creates more problem than without diversity?
Wait, say that again.
So, does diversity create more problem than without diversity?
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? When does diversity create more problems than not having diversity?
I think diversity becomes a problem when people amplify diversity.
It becomes a problem.
Yep.
When does it become a problem?
Like right now, we're arguing about.
Well, we're not
different-
arguing. We're having a conversation.
We are talking about different race representation.
Yep.
And if this conversation putting outside the class, I think it become a huge issue, become a huge societal issue instead of just a internal issue in what we're talking about right now.
Well, so what's the point of diversity?
I think diversity is not to include all the people. Diversity is all about respect who you see and make them a community instead of include all of them. Because that's our face of reality is Penn State has a lot of race, even though it's not very balanced among those races. But I think each community gains some sort of respect from their community within. But I think it's not a bad idea to divide people into several groups.
Okay. All right. So let me ask this question to a few I'm with you. I like that. Let me ask a question to a few random people. What's your friend group like? Like when I look in this class, right? When I look at this class, and I see the diversity in here, right? And I think, oh my God, like there's so much possibility. Like you have so many opportunities to meet so many people who are different from you. But in fact, do we or do we not do that, and why? Right? Like, can I just get a volunteer? Can I get anyone to volunteer? Do you want to volunteer? Do you want to volunteer? Can I ask you a question? All right, man. Who are what race are your closest friends?
At State College or at home.
Yeah, here.
They're mainly white.
And okay, so mainly white, which is pretty typical, right? I guess not. What's behind that, do you think? How is it that most of your friends are white up here? Again, don't start that. We start with the assumption that you as a white woman, that shouldn't be true. Like, oh my God, I should be, oh my God, I'm so narrow. Whatever. Don't go there. Don't be like apologetic kind of thing. Like, what do you think leads you to have mostly white friends?
I don't know. It could be even like at home. I live in an area that's mainly white, so at home, most of my friends are white as well. I don't think it's anything that I'm like looking for white friends. It's just kind of happened. Even like at school, I'm like in a sorority that's mainly white, and so, yeah, I guess I just feel like I'm surrounded by a lot of white people.
So
if that makes sense.
what would have to happen for you to not have mainly white? Like, look, for example, here, just stand up really fast. What's your name, by the way?
My name's Grace.
Grace. What's up? Hey, just stand up for a second.
Yeah.
Just look, like, just look here. Like, look at all these people that are clearly from different backgrounds, right? Like, look at that dude right there, man. Look at all these people from different countries, different backgrounds, different races, cultures, et cetera, et cetera. All right, man. Okay, have a seat. Have a seat.
Okay.
I mean, you're more comfortable sitting. So what keeps you from that, like really reaching into that? What do you think, what are the barriers? Do you ever think about it?
I guess I don't really think about it.
Okay.
And I guess this is like bringing it more to my attention.
Okay, so one barrier is not thinking about it, which is fine. Most
And
people
just, like,
don't think about it.
ignorance, Yeah.
Okay. Wait, hang on. So you don't think about it. What else? Because you live in a world. You've been socialized from day one. By the way, you're not on the spot here, right? This isn't like, let's show Grace how she's racist. This is not what this is at all, right? But you've lived your whole life since kindergarten, breathing in and drinking the Kool-Aid of multiculturalism and diversity and treating everybody the same and like all this stuff, right? All this. And here you are. And presumably, if you get married, presumably, you're probably straight, you get married, and all your bridesmaids are going to be white, and you're going to marry a white guy, and all the groomsmen are going to be white, and most people at the wedding are going to be white, but there'll be a couple of people who aren't, right? And I'm just saying, like, presumably, if you've lived your whole life with that, like, why are you still here in this place? Why do you think? Okay, so one thing is you say you haven't really thought about it. But you've been taught it your whole life. So like what? Like help me to understand. Hey, by the way, y'all, if there's anybody in here that, if you think I'm putting Grace on the spot, I am not, man. That's your own bullshit. And I'm trying to figure something out. She's a representative of the vast majority of white people in this room and in the U.S., which is, so this is my job, is to try to figure out why, like, what is it? Like, we've been taught all the diversity stuff, and yet you're still living in a white world, so, which is perfectly fine. So why? Like, what? Do you have anything else? So you chose, what sorority are you in?
I'm in G-Phi.
So
I hope
mostly.
I don't get in trouble for saying
Oh, you're not. Are you allowed to say that?
They might not be loving that, but it's
all right. Okay. No. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Okay. So you're going to be comfortable there, right? Because of course. Hey, wait. Hang on a second. Yo, we still have 10 minutes left, so make sure. So you're going to be comfortable there. So you're going to hang out with people who are like, it's comfortable, right? What's comfortable about that? That wouldn't be comfortable if you were in an Hispanic sorority or a black sorority?
Well, I guess it's like I said, it's nothing that I've really noticed. I guess just I've always felt comfortable, at school and in different social groups because I haven't been the minority. So it's hard for me to put myself in somebody else's shoes and say what it would be like if I was, if I went to a school that was majority Hispanic or black.
Or an HBCU or something.
Yeah, so I think definitely if I was in one of those communities, it would definitely be a different experience. And I've never really experienced it, so it's hard for me to put myself in someone else's shoes.
Yep. And by the way, you could get a scholarship at an HBCU, by the way, a race-based scholarship. Hey, so listen.
Samuel, I have a question. Because
Yeah.
she said something that made me kickle, and
Wait,
I
hang on.
genuinely want to know. Do
Wait,
you want
hang
me
on
to
one
stand-
second.
It might
Yeah,
derail
stand
you,
up.
so you
no,
can say no.
stand up, stand up. Come up here. I just want to say, Grace, your questions are, your answers, by the way, are exactly the answer. And so, which means like it's perfectly fine. I mean, it's the answer. It's like we don't think about it. We do the things that are most comfortable. You grew up in a way, you didn't choose your community, right? So like, okay, you grew up, these are your friends, your school, etc. So like, okay. Yeah, and that's the purpose of a class like this, is say, wait, why do I do that? And you don't have to change, just keep doing what you're doing. It's all good. Yeah, awesome. All right, Joy. Joy.
It was Grace. Grace was saying that she's just been surrounded by white people. And when she said that, it made me wonder, does she mean like, I'm surrounded, like I'm bored, or just like I'm surrounded? Because I feel like, and anyone, you have thoughts, I don't know, ask for the mic. But I feel like the experience of a minority being in a place that's very white is very much like, I'm just surrounded by fucking white people.
Yeah. No, it's the liberal.
So I
white
wonder,
people
do
say that.
white people experience being like, I'm fucking bored of myself or
Yeah.
whatever, you know?
Does anybody feel that? Dude, this guy does right here, man. Wait, before you do, has everyone gotten the attendance sheet? Yo, dude. Yo, bro, do you have any attendance sheets? Here, go right down there. Do you have more? All right, go ahead. Where's the one over? Is there one over here? Wait, just hang on one second. Is there one over here? Where's the attendance sheet that was down here?
There was one this whole time. If you don't get attendance sheets during class today, just come down to the front and see me.
No, we're going to get it.
I know we're going to get it, just in case.
Do you have one at the top? Wait, who doesn't have it here? Where's the attendance sheet in this section? All right, it's coming. Jeff, can you get another one in the back really fast? All right, bro, go ahead.
So I come from a pretty diverse area, I guess, in Northern Virginia. I would say it was honestly more interesting not being surrounded by white people. Because it feels like I'd be like looking at myself every time I turn around if there was just white people constantly. Like my friend group at home is really diverse. I'm one of the only 2 white people in the group of like 15 people. So it adds like a whole diverse background. Everyone has their own experiences, especially with family. That like, I don't know, if I was at a pretty white area, it would just be kind of boring being like, oh, we're all basically the same people, just different faces.
But that's like do you really think that, or were you just taught to think that? Because I don't find white people boring at all, by the way. Well, you might be boring, he might be boring, but I don't find white people boring. Do you think that, or were you taught that?
No, I mean, like, I think it goes both ways. I mean, I've just always found, like, more interest in diversity.
Yeah, speak into the mic.
Like, I've always found more interest in, like, diverse friend groups. It's just fun learning about, like, what other people's cultures are like. Because meeting people like me is just, I feel like a copy and paste almost.
Okay, all right. Dude, do you feel like that? No. How is it for you, meeting another white? You're white, right? Yes. Do you like being white?
I don't have anything against it.
All right. Okay, that's good, man. Well, so you don't feel like that. What do you feel like about being white?
I feel like it's more the people you hang out with. If you hang out with other white people who are the same as you, then you might feel bored. But if you hang out with other white people who have like different pastimes,
or
even from different areas of like the United States, then you'll probably not be bored.
Yeah, because you could hang out with black or brown people who are like completely exactly like you. They just happen to have black or brown skin and like whatever. They're the same as you. So that's pretty boring. Okay, so you're saying it's beyond race.
Yeah, because one of my good friends back home is Filipino, and like he grew up with me and all my friends, and he's exactly the same as us.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Dude, do you have a microphone still? Do you want the mic? Wait, but Rex has already spoken. Here, let this guy speak.
So, as a black person, I'm gonna be honest, like, majority of my friend group is black, but it's not because, like, you know, we black people only like black people, but it's like, I speak for, like, a couple of black people I know. There's an uncomfortability with, like, other races because, like, the truth is, for example, like, Grace grew up with a majority of, like, Caucasian people, and they don't necessarily learn, like, our culture dynamics or understand it. And that misunderstanding, like, leads to, like, uncomfortable moments. But we're pretty lit, to be completely.
Yo, but listen now.
Like, I'm telling you, like, you know, for, like.
No, but listen. So, but flip that around, right?
Okay.
Like, why would Grace wanna, like, she's gonna be uncomfortable, and you know what I mean? Are black people really gonna accept her? Because like, she's not gonna know what the culture is.
I mean,
and
like,
so
if
on.
she's lit, she's invited to the cookout.
I'd
Like,
say Grace
you know,
is probably pretty lit.
To be honest, like, to speak for, like, a majority of black people, we're very accepting of, like, people that are genuine and people that, like, love you regardless of, like, what you look like. Even if you, like, you meet the most pro-black, African-centric person, like, they're still accepting of a Caucasian person.
Dude,
based off
I'm
their
gonna call bullshit on that.
I'm from a majority black area. I'm from Philadelphia, so I know a lot of black people, and a lot of them, like, are accepted.
I mean a lot of black people who would not. If you brought Grace home as your girl, if you like,
if Grace is lit,
Grace was you.
to the cookout.
But let's say she's not though.
That's
Like
how-
say no, but let's say she's just Grace.
She's not at the cookout. It's just that simple.
She's not what?
She's not at the cookout. She's like, we call the cookout essentially
got
like
you.
acceptance.
Yeah, I got
She's
you.
not in the community if she doesn't fit that standard of being
Okay, all
genuine.
right. So therefore, right, and therefore, it's a similar thing, though, right? So
Yeah.
if you could show up like, bro, this guy. Can you stand up for a second again? This is a Mark, right? Yeah, who wrote the book? Yeah, all right. Who wrote the book?
Yeah.
Remember that about how to be organized, how to be an awesome college student, which some of you ought to read his book because, like, whatever. Then he'd fit well. You'd probably fit well in her community, right, bro? Wait, hang on. Shit, I don't have a microphone. Hang on. Can you pass that down? Hey, who needs the attendance sheet over here? Yeah. Yeah, just pass that down, bro. Who needs it up here? Bro, can you? All right, go ahead, bro. What do you think of this?
What did you say?
What do you think of this?
I'm gonna have to. What was your name, by the way? What is it? Dan.
Dude, Dan.
Okay, Dan. All right, cool. I gotta echo him mainly because I'm also from Philly, also a black family, kind of Afrocentric. My girl is white. I brought her home, and they were like, "All right, she's dope." You know, they thought it was cool because you know it doesn't generally happen. I guess they like all like chocolate or whatever. But it's like one of those things where here I actually have like half white friends, which kind of makes sense because you know it's majority white. But then the other half are just minorities, whether it's Asian, Hispanic, or African American.
Dude, but hang on. But are they lit?
They're always lit, bro.
All right.
If they're not lit, they're not part of who I hang out with. You understand?
Yeah. All right, I got you.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, I have more black friends here than I would in Philadelphia because in Philadelphia, you just don't walk up to black people unless you're trying to get mugged or killed. So it makes sense that we would kind of like talk with more of our kind here if you want to go that route because it's a safe space to do it. You can walk up to any black person and they kind of understand. Whereas in Philly, that might not be the safest route, or in a big city, regardless.
No, yeah, I don't know. Okay. All right.
Y'all motherfuckers is loud. Shut the hell.
Yo, hang on. Who feels like they want to say something? They just feel like they really want to say something. Dude. All right, man.
Thank you. Yeah, so up here, well, I should start. So I grew up in an entirely white neighborhood. I went to a really big high school, and there were a lot of white people, and you know, a very small percentage of that population was black and Hispanic and Asian. So I grew up, and I'm also from a mixed family too. So like both my parents are white, because I was adopted, and so up here, I'm in a friend group with like 20-something people, and I'm one of 2 brown people. No black friends, no Asian friends, and like honestly, I never really. I think at the beginning, once I was like meeting everybody and becoming a part of the group, I was like a little uncomfortable because I felt like I don't know if I'll be necessarily accepted or I'll be looked at differently just because I'm a really like there's only 1 or 2 of me. But like over time, as you just meet the people, I think that's when I started to understand like it just doesn't really matter your race, your ethnicity. It's just it's the type of person that you are, and you know the vibes that you give off. So I think now I'm comfortable with it, but you know,
all right,
took a little bit of time.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Yo, hang on, Joey, you get the last word here.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and kind of like what Danny.
By the way, Joy is in her own ethnic group, man. There's one.
When you were saying what you were saying, it made me think, damn, do I not give people long enough of a chance? And I do, right? To what Dan had said about like the risk of having that uncomfortable moment, that shit really happened. And I found 9 times out of 10, when I like saturate myself in a room full of white people in any given setting, there's always some weird shit that happened. And it's not race related. It's usually like guys doing some sexual shit. I don't know why white men always gotta talk about dicks.
Dude. All right, you can't.
It always happens. It may not be racial, but like for me, you always have that weird moment.
Dude, that's welcome to the world of whiteness.